around since early January. We have all been affected with this pandemic of COVID. By the end of March, when India went into lockdown, the pandemic has spread to over 185 countries, and naturally it has resulted into closure of over 90% of the schools, colleges, and universities across the world, and over 1.4 billion students across the world have suddenly been, moved to a fix of what next. And till today, as you can all see, that we are not in a situation to get into the regular stream of what it used to be before March. And way forward is something which is very, very important, and it is also a very important consideration for everyone. So what I'm going to basically talk upon today is I'm going to spread my conversation with you in 4 different dimensions. The first is I'm definitely going to talk about the impact of COVID on education. What has it created on the positive side, on the negative side, and what has it basically done? Then I'm also going to touch upon, since the topic also covers impact of COVID, and it also covers on higher education and of students, I would also stretch into this aspect of higher education. Higher education is what next, basically. So in that, I have some basic questions which I would like to address and which I would like to answer. The first question is, do you need to study further? I want to ask this question, and I want each one of you to ask this question to yourself. Do you really need to study further? Because 12 years of education is the schooling, and then 3 years of undergraduation, 3 years or 4 years of undergraduation leaves you with 15 years of education. And after 15 years of education, obviously there should be a question, right, whether you should study further. So I want to touch upon that area of why should you study, or do you need to study? And then if that is the case, then obviously I understand today's audience is primarily a mix of management students who might be BBM and BBA, and then students from economics domain, and then students from sociology domain. So for each one of you, if you need to study, then I want to take you through the aspect of what can you study. I want to take you through the various areas of what and all you can study to nurture your higher education. And then subsequently, I also want to touch upon where can you study. So where can you study, or where should you study? And on that aspect, I would also like to touch upon, as Professor rightly introduced, that I have been a traveler across the world. I have done my BE, I've then done a couple of masters across the world. I've been in to over 40 countries and visited over 200, 300 universities. So I would also like to take you through the dream of where can you study, and give you a glimpse about study abroad. And also like to say that what has been this COVID-19 doing for environments across the world, because that will also relate to you, and it will be interesting to hear as well. So this is what is going to be my content of delivery today, and hope each one of you will enjoy this next 30-40 minutes of interaction. And then so that's where we start. So the first thing, if I look at, as I said, what has happened is, since March, over 90% of the schools, colleges are closed. But what has happened is immediately there has been a lot of changes which has been happening. Some of the, I will start with the negatives, which has been the impact on education. One is that the learning system Institutions quickly able to adapt to the learning system of online, because that was one of the things which was necessary, and quickly this online mode of learning, and that's how you see even me interacting today. But then, if we look deeper into that aspect, there is positives and negatives. So one of the implication is students have become passive learners, because in this case, I am able to present, but I'm not able to see each one of you. And the audience is, even though, attention span of people in online and all leads to the fact that students by and large have become passive learners. And then the impact is that all students are not equal. If you, even in a class, if you look at 50 students who are there, their own way of learning. Some people hear and learn, some people read and learn, some people have the habit of writing and learning. And then it is a huge impact that this online learning leads to the fact that not all students are able to join you along with the ride. Because, see, imagine if I am speaking to you for 20-30 minutes. If you lose me in any of the 20-30 minutes, then it will be very hard for you to catch up with me. Very similar is the same aspect of learning. So people ask me whether online learning can be a replacement. No, it can never be a replacement. It can only complement, basically. So that is there. Another part is that if you look at India, now the digital space is very divided. Everybody doesn't have the same bandwidth. Everybody is not able to hear, is not able to probably receive the content the way in which it is delivered. And it also becomes a very important part that teachers who are also engaged are very new to this methodology. And in terms of infrastructure and in terms of facility and all those things, they are also basically finding it challenging. And the good thing is that over time, all these things would, have become quite okay. But still, preparedness of the teacher for online is another question, basically. And the other thing is that way forward, if I look at it, then this changing this impact of online learning and all those things also puts institutions, primary universities and colleges in a phase where, when it comes to higher education specifically, the way in which students take up and the way in which students enroll, that also becomes a challenge. So there is I see that there is a huge change in the format of student recruitment for institutions, meaning the admission practices, the admission criteria, and overall recruitment process, all these things makes it there. And then the other thing, as I said, I am an expert in global education. So obviously the movement of people from one country to the other is definitely very sluggish, basically. If you look at September 20, that is a very primary intake for anybody who wants to study. But I see that there is definitely a sluggish cross-border movement. Even though countries like New Zealand, Australia, and France and all say today that their schools, colleges are open and then they are COVID-free and things like that. But the movement of students is also going to be an impact. The reason of all these things is because we need to see where is India and how it is. So 4 areas which I see as a negative impact of COVID-19 on education specifically is online learning makes students a passive learner. Not everybody is prepared and not everybody go with the journey of online learning from the student's perspective. Faculty's preparedness and infrastructure and resources for them, and the methodology and standardization. All these is also another challenge, and the format of student recruitment is another aspect which is definitely going to be a change which is supposed to be seen by institutions and taken care. and then definitely sluggish cross-border movement of students across the world. But on the other hand, what are these? There are definitely quite a bit that has been in there because of this COVID-19. The first, on the flip side, online learning has certain issues. But on the positive side, today we are able to deliver such a wonderful session for each one of you, and then it can be repetitively seen by YouTube and things like that. So this gives a rise for a need, or it gives a rise and an opportunity for blended learning, which will be the future basically. So the blended learning, which I mean by is institutions are forced to adapt, wherein in future technology would be used to the fullest, and even today, if you look at assignments, and if you look at today efficiency of students, even I see in my own efficiency of delivery has been very effective. The concern is definitely on the student side and the faculty side, right? But from the institution side, efficiency of delivery is one thing which is increased, and way forward we see that there would definitely be a rise in the blended learning basically, which involves both the face-to-face learning as well as the use of technology and digital media, and virtual learning as well. So to adapt and to look at the learning management system. So I think this is a terminology, but imagine institutions what they need to do about it. Learning management systems are supposed to be implemented in a way in which the efficiency and effectivity of delivery is ensured to the students, as well as also students are able to get the best out of them. So that is another positive which I am seeing. The other thing which I am definitely seeing is improvement in the learning material. This gives ample time for people to prepare, and this gives also an opportunity for a very wider audience, and this is also a content which is recorded and which can be revisited again. See, just like if I take a class in your, a regular class, there is no evidence of what I have taken. But in this virtual medium, definitely there is an evidence of what has been delivered. So it forces the person who delivers to have a very strong content. So this focus on the fact that it is evident that there has been considerable improvement in the learning content and in the learning material basically, which is there for the students. So that is there. And then the other aspect is that we see that this forces people to gradually move towards this aspect of collaborative work. Today, this session, what I'm doing is available to any student, any teacher from any institution basically. So it's not restricted to the 50 people who are there in front of me or something like that, or 500 people, it is there. So it basically encourages, and it also creates a large number of possibilities, is where large number of academic meetings, seminars, conferences will all move online basically. And this is a very good time for global association as well. International universities have always been telling that they are available for a lot of deliveries, but the matchmaking didn't happen. Now I see that it is a huge possibility that the best of the best resources would be accessible, and then these kind of video conferencing basically lead to the rise of collaborative work, and then people have understood that they can achieve and they can deliver quite a lot without travel, basically impact on travel. But on the positive side, a lot of content delivery is all there. So India is not going through a reform in higher education sector, but now For a long time it has been on hold, but right now I see that there is so much of, even from the governance side, I see that there is so much of positive reform which is happening on the higher education sector, which will all be very positive, because it was earlier very tight, and now there is a lot of opportunity which is in the brim. So these are all the positives. So as I said, the positives is, one is I see the rise of blended learning, which is definitely the way forward, which is going to be the future. Everybody stands to benefit out of it. The other benefit is that positive change is that the learning management system goes through a new form. Institutions are geared up during this period of COVID. So once things gets normalized, then definitely these facilities, what has been used here, will come, and that will be beneficial. And then, as I said, there is considerable impact. That because of the aspect that people have time to prepare, and also there is a larger audience, and also there is a way by which you can revisit. And then I also see that there is a possibility for a rise in a collaborative work, domestically as well as internationally, that is there. And then the other positive thing is about the aspect of the governance. Basically, I see that there is going to be quick and lot of positive reform in the higher education sector, and that is bound to be major transformation, and which is going to happen. Each one of us are likely to gain on that. So, as I said, one aspect is the impact of COVID-19, which I wanted to talk, and in the last 20 minutes, I have tried to share upon two things, basically on the little bit of negatives which is there, and on the positives which it has COVID-19 has created on higher education. Now, I would quickly like to step into this other aspect of asking you the question, do you need to study further? People come and ask me generally, sir, already I have done 15 years of education, and after that, should I study further? Now, I have very simple, let's come to the basics of what it is. See, today we are living in a very, very competitive world. I don't need to say that. Each one of you know. I mean, 20, 30 years back, when your parents were studying, things were not like what it is today. And way forward down the line, every year, or probably 3 years, 5 years down the line, it is not going to be like what it is today. And with situations like the global economy going through recession, then with depression and this pandemic and all those things, a lot of businesses are facing a very, very tough time. And in turn, people by themselves acted quite large. So this is there for everyone. Now, on the bottom line, for India is a huge population and a country with very young people. So when this is the fact, the competition in India is going to be much more fierce, because we have a lot of young and energetic blood, which is you and the friend who's left and right of you and the peer. So all of you need to basically come up in life. So there is two things which you got to understand. The first is, each one of you have big dreams. There is no doubt about it. Each one of you, I know today, are highly aspiring. Youngsters today are highly aspiring. They are not happy with what they get. They want something beyond that. So they have a dream job or a dream career. They think so they also are, definitely highly aspiring. And then they also need to understand, each one of you need to understand, aspiration is on one side, competition is on the other side. When aspiration is sky high and competition is so fierce, what do? You need to compete. And today, believe me, youngsters don't want to wait for time. They want to get everything in the shortest possible time. If I tell you that you will be able to get to your dream job or dream career in the next 20 years, will anybody listen, basically? That is not how we are looking at it. And today, You look at you know, people when they want to basically get what they want in the shortest possible time, and then when they understand the competition is very high, and then aspiration is also um, equally very high. The one way of doing what they want to do is reaching more very near to it is by way of studying. Because education, that means if you study, see at 10th standard itself you could have taken a break and you could have gone to work. This is very common in the international environment. During the school, he will go out and he will take a break and then he will work for some time and then he will later on come and join in college. So this is that. Similarly, after 12, you could have worked. After now also, you could work or you could start a business or something. But what does education do? Education fundamentally gives you a perspective to think. Education basically decreases the time frame from which you go from A to B. And today I see that people want to quickly become move to a graduation, basically opens an avenue for that. And in today's competitive world, I think just an undergraduation might not be good enough, basically. So this definitely, if you are aspiring, if you are dreaming big, and if you want to become a great person, education, further education is a necessity in the current generation. I am a person, as I said, who have done a BE and 4 masters basically in the year 93, 97, and then I finished with 99. So in today's generation, I see that there are a lot of people who are doing double masters. So said and done that, each one of you think on your own, and if you want to scale up and if you want to become move forward in a very short period of time, then studying further becomes a necessity. Now the other aspect is immediately then this aspect comes, everybody asks, what should I study? Very, very important. Now in this, remember, up to foundation or the first degree, it's okay. Whatever you study, it's okay. But later on, you got to remember, whatever course you're likely to do is a subset of the career. Because in today's competitive world, nobody wants a poorly paid job or a highly stressful job. So it is very, very important that you make a proper choice of course in order to land in a career which is not stressful and which is also fairly paid, basically. So for that, the simple solution which I can tell you is, you can nurture your interest. Each one of you would have your own interest. Forget about whatever you have done till now, because you should be at the age of 20, 21. It's okay. Because you are all going to live up to 80 means you haven't even lived 1/3, 1/4 of your life. Considering that for the remaining 2/3 or 3/4, what you study now in the next couple of years will make a huge change, basically. Don't worry about whatever you've done. This is the only opportunity which you get to nurture your interest. And if you're able to do it, nothing like it. You can also see within you and you can see what is your strength, basically. Because today's world is very competitive and you got to become a master. And becoming a master in something where you have your strength and where you have your interest is very easy, basically. So you can definitely look at that. I mean, it's very, very fair for a lot of people to have made a choice till now without being knowledgeable and without knowing. But from now, you can probably build, forget about whatever you've done in 20 years, but right now take a proper decision of what course you can and build on your interest and your strength, and you can move forward, basically. And in this case, employment is something which you don't need to behind, or careers are something which you don't need to go behind. It will come back to you. At this stage, I understand that there are 3 audiences who are management students, who are students from economics background, and who are students from sociology background. So, what can each one of you study? I'm going to basically touch upon the various courses which you can study, and then you can pick up whatever is relevant to you from there on. Generally, economics, student from economics domain, economics, as I say, as a wide opportunity on all courses which a business guy can do. And from a student of a BBA or BBA, there is a lot of wide areas which you both can study. So what I see is generally a student from a business background starts exploring on further studying in business. In India, we have this simple notion of telling, I want to do an MBA. This is very common because in India, anybody who wants to study business gets into a master's in business administration because we lack in focus masters. But gradually, today I see that there are a lot of specializations and focus masters available across boundaries, and this gives a possibility for you to think about scope on real estate management as well. Shipping and trade finance is also there. These are all on the finance domain which each one of you can think about. I want to reiterate, you can do your masters in finance, you can do your masters in corporate finance, you can do your masters in insurance, actuarial science, banking, risk management, fund analysis, investment management, real estate investment management, shipping and trade finance. And on the gradually, you can also venture out into accounting, and you can take up masters in accounting, and you can take up CA, or you can also take up global certification, which is equivalent to CA, like ACCA, ICAEW, and all these things also makes you a chartered accountant, chartered by global institutions like Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, like Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. These gives you a global perspective for you to go about and study. So these are all there. And then there is also today a flare on charity and non-profit accounting. In this public sector financial management is also a course which you can study. You can specialize on microfinance. You can specialize on corporate governance. On the economic side, there is so much of opportunity on masters in public sector economics. Political economics by itself is a specialty, and mostly on economical regulations there is study on masters. Public policy is another area which you can study, because public policy makes it a very attractive opportunity for you to today venture out into a country like India, which is growing. And on the energy side and on the environmental side, energy and environmental economics also has wide opportunity today. I see, people having wonderful careers on each one of these domains. Okay, so that is there. So again, revisiting the accounting domain, you can do your masters in it. You can become a chartered accountant. You can become a chartered accountant chartered by ACCA, chartered by ICAEW. You can do charity and non-profit accounting. You can do microfinancing in public sector financial management. You can do. There is also another thing. Oil and gas accounting is also there. These are also very attractive. A lot of career in that. On the economics domain, as I said, public sector economics or political economics or energy and environmental economics, and you can do masters in each one of these areas. That's what I'm trying to say basically, and that's what we're talking about as higher education. And then beyond that, generally being a business graduate or venturing out into any walk of business, you can do a masters in management, masters in business administration, masters in marketing, a master's in advertising, branding, and today we talk so much about digital marketing. You can definitely study that. You can study masters in human resource management. Sociology students can definitely be interested in that, which is there. On the management side, you can venture out into operations management, and because making the right kind of products available at the right time, at the right place, at the right quantity, at the right quality is a challenge. There is a raw material, and there is a finished goods, and there is a customer, and then we recycle the product and we come back. If you think that this is a cycle, then you can do a course on masters in supply chain management, movement of goods, masters in logistics you can study, selling goods, masters in retail management you can study. I know that there are a lot of who are readily willing to jump into business, start up their own business. So you can also step back because life is long and you are very young. Nothing wrong in studying for a year or two. So you can study course like entrepreneurship, innovation. These might also help you. Focus if you are currently having an existing business, definitely to improve that business and to take it to the next level. There are specific courses, just like how I said, retail management might be handy for so many people basically. Or if you are looking at cultivating your leadership management itself is that international business for people who want to expand and trade globally. Courses like international business might definitely come handy. This is there. Beyond that, there is also a lot of general other things which anybody can do, like event management, journalism, law. Law can be done by any students basically. Today, digital marketing, and I see also a huge need for creative writing thing. That is also another. You can venture out into hospitality and tourism and travel. Well, today with COVID-19, this industry has been majorly impacted, but the way in which this industry is going to transform in the 12 months, just wait and watch, believe me. Basically, because one of my companies is also into travel services. So in the next 12 to 18 months from today, there will be a huge change in the way in which the travel and the tourism industry is functioning. And so these are all some things which you can study. So reiterating on the management side of courses, I want to repeat what you can study. You can study administration, marketing, international marketing, advertising, branding, I said digital marketing, creative writing, and then I said operations management, human resource management, I said logistics, supply chain management, retail management, and then building leadership management, entrepreneurship, innovation, and then journalism, law, these are open and to anybody. And I said also hospitality and tourism and travel. These are all the wide areas which you can study on that domain of marketing and management. And I found sociology, and I found that study quite a very wide range of subjects. I'm not able to transcend that into a specialist, but I see one area of scope today to be counselors basically. There is a huge need for counselors, and guidance counselors are required in every domain. I am an education counselor, but there are so many aspects today in as a conflict in the human development, basically in the way in which the society and the environment is functioning. So there is a lot of opportunities on being a counselor, in specializing in any walk of your interest, basically, because it comes to marriages, family, it comes to child development, it comes to political situation, economic situation, psychological situation. And so you are probably open to study a lot of aspects on counseling, guidance counselors. Psychology is also another area which I see that there are a lot of people who venture out today, and there are institutions which are very generous to give importance to counseling studies, so you can study that. And as I already said, nothing stops you to study a lot of other courses on management and all those things. Human resource management plays a major role. You can all study that. I see that these things will lead you to today. I see that a lot of companies are hiring people as management consultants. So you got to think that doing that. And even today we talk about a lot of aspects on rural development, and there is a lot of study on rural development, and that's where, as I said, public policy also is a very attractive opportunity for sociology students, and, and public relations is also another aspect which you can all, because since you're in your undergraduation, you venture out into so many areas of human, both on the domestic content and on the human perspective. Public relations is another area, and then market research. You can probably get into, companies are definitely in need, so you can specialize and study on market research. And there is a lot of, I mean, leaving the secondary research, there is a lot of primary research which you can venture out, and each one of that will be very useful. You can also give consideration on the various aspects of environment today, because today important. And so sustainable environmental development is an area, because we got to look at that. Urbanization and how that is impacted, or industrialization and how that is impacted. So there are specific studies on each one of these areas. Water is also another thing, basically. So if we talk about environment, then there is so much on water, and there is so much on climate change. There are specific institutions and courses you can study in all these. The beauty of all these is that most of these programs are fully funded. So as long as you are willing to study, fine, because when you are able to contribute yourself to give back to the world, and to give back to the human existence, and to give back to the environment, definitely there is so much which of funding which is possible, and then you can take advantage, and you can take a note of that, and that is also there. So, so that leaves me with what you can study. So let me just go back to what I relating to my topic of impact on COVID-19. I touched upon the immediate impacts which this COVID-19 has created on higher education. I just listed a few points on the negatives of this COVID-19, like the learning system has made students passive, and then teachers, preparedness of teachers towards online learning immediate is a challenge, and then in future the student recruitment would be a challenge for institutions and universities, and then also there is very limitations and sluggishness in the cross-border movement. On the positive side, I say that it rises to a blended learning, basically face-to-face and online learning, institutions to adapt to learning management system, and I said that this has led to improvement in the learning material, because there is a possibility for us to go back and watch what we have delivered, and then the audience is larger, so learning material is there. And then obviously I said it gives a rise to a lot of collaborative work in the days to come forward, domestically, globally, across there. And I also said that there is going to be a huge reform on the higher education sector from the governance, and it's going to be a major transformation, and it's going to be very quick and very fast. So that's what I started with. Then I moved to this aspect of higher education for students, and in that I answered the question, do you need to study? By telling that studying further is a necessity in your generation, for the reason that competition is fierce, and youngsters are highly aspiring, and when competition is fierce and youngsters are aspiring and the dream career or dream job is very far away and people don't want to wait and they want to quickly go to the dream job or dream career, then studying further is a possibility by which you can go to your dream career at a shorter period of time. And even for those who want to venture out into business, or even for those who want to take over their family business and quickly jump into it, I said life is very long. You are going to live until 80, so not even one fourth you have lived. So considering that, investing a couple of years to study double masters, so investing couple of years to do your higher education and to groom yourself and to get the exposure and the experience will all come in handy basically, because anyway you are going to continue what you are going to do for the rest of your life. So education, further education becomes a necessity, and if further education becomes a necessity, then I said what should you study basically. So on the aspect of what should you study, I touched upon the various aspects of courses on finance, on accounting, on economics, on marketing, management, on human resource, and I also touched upon what a sociology students and can study. So that leaves with the last and the final, well, question which I have put to myself to answer to all of you today, which is where should you study? So, should you study further? Yes. What can I study? Build on your interest and your strength and the various course opportunities which I have given you, because you don't want to get into a poorly paid or highly stressful job. So that's there. Where should you study? The first is selection of an institution is very, very important. If you are able to study in the right place, then nothing like it. And for me, PhD is one such decision which I took in my life. Even though I have studied in 5 institutions, but PhD is very close to me. I am telling all my undergraduate and postgraduate. Okay, very close to me because that was very crucial in my career, and then it is there. So selection of an institution is very, very important. And on this aspect of where to study, I also want to expose you to this idea of studying abroad. Today, a lot of people I see go abroad and study for the simple reason that the learning system is very different. You are entering into an environment where it is a practically it revolves around the fact of learning to learn. So when you learn, you become an asset to yourself, you become an asset to the environment and the society by and large. So the education system outside India is attractive for the perspective that um, you get into an aspect of learning to learn, and there is a lot of practical learning and hands-on learning, so you don't need to hunt careers will come to you. Beyond that, education abroad also gives you a possibility for an exposure and an experience of living in a developed country, meet people from different cultures, and also it gives you a different perspective on the whole. It grooms you to make you a better person. And beyond all those things, the idea of working abroad for a couple of years or the idea of settling down abroad is also very attractive, because you got to because that will uh, you know uh, to work see so uh, if you are able to go abroad and study, then it will give you an opportunity for you to work across the world. The reason why I'm able to tell you this is that if you are looking at a global opportunity, the biggest constraint is that can I get some water, please? The voice is yeah, and mm, uh, so opportunity to work abroad, what I want to elaborate is basically the fact is that when we look at the global environment, the biggest issue for a person who goes from 1.3 billion population is that um, the compatibility issue of working. So when you go abroad and study, you say that I have been educated in your environment and then you get access to work in their environment. And this gives you a possibility to earn in dollars, which is there. And today we see that people are able to earn 30, 40, 50 lakhs a year, and this is attractive. Now, said and done that, uh, what is this impact of COVID-19 in countries across the world? There is only two things basically which I look at. The first is that not every country is the same. Countries like Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, and Norway are all in green at the moment, and they are perfectly fine. And then hardly there is New Zealand accounts for 0 cases in a day. Australia, Norway, and all is just single digits a day. So they are all set to open their schools, colleges, and all by July, August, September. Countries like France, Germany, Italy, and Netherlands are okay, they are also coming up. Countries like Canada, Singapore, Sweden, United Kingdom, and USA are still on the side where they are all still in red. We got to watch. But right now, here I want to say that the most important concern is India, because if we look at what is happening in India, we started in the lockdown in March, and then today we are in June. If anybody wants to study, there are two things which is very important. The first is embassy should open and international travel should open, basically. And now this aspect is the problem here is that give me a minute. The cities like Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, where the council general is all there, is totally in red. Without these cities basically coming into context, how do we go for the visa and all those things? But said and done that, I see that after any dip in economy, whether it's a recession or a depression, we are all likely to go up. And for each one of you who is going to probably take a study abroad and probably finish in September 21, September 22, September 23, the world is going to be very different. The world is going to be very welcoming. And on that aspect, one thing which I can tell you is there is a lot of positive note on that. Countries across the world have not changed anything on the immigration policies. Today, if you go to USA, you are given a 3-year OPT visa for STEM, and you're given a 12 months OPT visa for non-STEM program. That is optional practical training, which is there. So most of you can take advantage of that. If you go to Canada, you get a 3-year work permit on completion of a master's, or a 1-year work permit on completion of a postgraduate diploma. If you go to Australia, you get a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year work permit. If you go to New Zealand, Australia, a 2-year course leads to a 2-year or a 3-year or a 4-year work permit. In New Zealand, you get a 3-year work permit for a 1-year course at level 7 and above. This year, UK has come up with a policy called graduate immigration route, which gives a 2-year work permit for a 1-year. Very similar. A 1-year course leads to a 2-year work permit. France gives a 6 months internship and a 2-year work permit and a 5-year multiple entry Schengen visa. Germany gives. So all the countries world over, What I'm trying to say is because of COVID-19, there has been no impact on the subject of work permit extension basically. So it is intact. The reason is that institutions across the world also encourage international students because you give a wonderful mix on the cohort. So said and done that, obviously once this idea of studying abroad is attractive, then obviously course selection becomes very important, country selection becomes very important, and university selection becomes very important. And on this aspect of country selection, there are two variables which you can use as a thumb rule to select. The first is you can use the variable of education policy. Some countries allow you to come and study, some countries allow you to come and study and return back, some countries give you a work permit, some countries give you a PR by itself. So depending on that, you can select a country. So immigration policy is one thumb rule which you can use. The other is the cost of education. Today, the cost of education is very important, and even though the Indian economy has come to a stage where it is, but still cost of education is very, very important consideration. So depending on banks are very friendly, and in this COVID-19, the bank loan process has entirely become online. That's another advantage, but still, affordability is a question. There are a lot of scholarships and funding options which is available if you apply on early. We have got people who have gone, who have entirely the tuition fee, cost of living, air ticket, resident permit, everything has been sponsored. Every year we have students like that. So scholarship is there, but beyond that, funding is also very important. So cost of education is very important. So these are two criteria which you use primarily to select which country to study. As far as universities is concerned, it is a matchmaking basically which university to study. Normally people go with ranking and all those things. I just want to leave you with two simple things which you can all follow. If any of you are aspiring to study abroad, please just visit Google Map street view of that particular university which you are thinking about, and also read the entire content. Don't look at just ranking of that university in Wikipedia. Now these don't look at just ranking of that university in Wikipedia. Now these two will give you very good content which will help you. If you look at it like 10 universities, then you'll be able to understand what is the difference and what is that which is important to you, because rankings doesn't matter, because the attitude under which the ranking and that relevance for you is very important. So you can look at that as well, and then you can decide on that. And the other thing, university selection, what you can do is, Google Map and then Wikipedia is coming handy. And then beyond that, you've also got to never compromise on the course which you want to do. And if you're very particular about the cost, about how to apply and all those things, in our Career Zone's website under FAQ, we have given extensively the cost of education of each and every country, and we have also extensively touched upon how to apply, what is the documentation, and our YouTube channel and all gives the various aspects, because each one of these to every country, to every university and all those things. So it will be a very, very lengthy conversation. So to keep it short and to keep my speech within the 1 hour, which is encourage each one of you to visit Career Zone's website and YouTube channel to take advantage of the leftover information which I am not able to cover in this session. So to again elaborate on what I did, impact of COVID-19, negative impacts, positive impacts, and then to venture out into, do you need to study further on this aspect of higher education? What should you study and where should you study, and elaborating on why study abroad is also attractive basically. So as I said, studying further is a necessity. study abroad is attractive. And then what should you do in terms of course, country, and university selection is what I touched upon. Hope this has been a useful interaction and a useful session to each one of you. So good wishes to each one of you, and thank you very much for this opportunity to your institution and to the placement department at PSG CAS. Thank you. Over to you, Professor.
Yes, sir. Sir, on behalf of the students, few questions, sir.
Please, please. Yeah, you can also ask questions and you can also share their feedback as well. I would
Sure,
encourage.
sir. Sure, sir. Definitely, sir. Uh, sir, so what is the best option for the BBA IS graduates, sir, after their undergraduation?
BBA?
Information systems.
Okay, okay, yeah, okay, I missed that. Okay, see, today business is important. As you say, information technology versus support management specialization on management information system, business system, technology management. Database management, business analytics, data analytics. All these courses have national opportunity where a business graduate can venture out and specialize on each one of these areas. And again, as I elaborated, today there is also a transition course for people who want to venture out into media. And there is a lot of, you don't have the technology background. If you want to get and information, there is a lot of opportunity in those areas as well. And these are few courses which, these students who are studying BBM IS can take up.
Uh, Thank you, sir. And we have another question. So, if you have the people from poor background, still whether they can get any opportunity to study in abroad, because if you take BA economics and all, we have people from poor family background. They are not affordable to go abroad for the higher studies. Could you please
Yeah.
elaborate and guide our students in this
Yeah,
regard?
yeah, very important. It's a very important aspect basically because I have been working on this space for the last 22 years. 23, this is the 23rd year service of education, global education. Over the last 23 years, I have seen that India has considerably become expensive, and the Indian economy has also been growing, and the affordability index of people have been increasing, and the banks are also generous to lend today. I'm talking about a journey of 22, 23 years. But even till today, education abroad is only by two means. If you look at traditionally 20, 25 years back, who and all went abroad is people who got scholarship primarily only went abroad and studied. Otherwise, only the affluent people went and studied. Others didn't go. Now, over the last 22 years, the affordability of a lot of people have increased, and the banks have been generous to lend. So these are the two means by which people have been able to garner. So even till today, those who are from this constraint of investment, either they got to be brilliant to attract students specifically from economic background and sociology background. And please hear me, there are a lot of funding opportunities available across the world specifically for study in economics and specifically for study in various aspects of sociology, which I said you can study because most of these courses which I said are impacting society and environment. Since you are able to opportunity is extensive, but in order to access the fund, you got to have two things. The first thing which you got to have is you got to have a brilliant profile. Education is very important even in your undergraduation, whatever course it might be. So you should be a very good student. The second aspect is You should have a nice story. What and all you have done till now. What do you want to do later? And why do you want to do that in terms of the course? And where do you see yourself? And how do you see yourself impacting the society and the environment? If the story is nice, then funding is highly possible. So these are the only means by which anybody can take advantage. One is you got to have a good profile, and then you got to have a nice story with which you can access funding. And economics and sociology students, definitely right, there is a lot of funding opportunity, and we can guide you in that. The other is you should probably have funding on your own, or you should probably be able to access bank loans, and then through banking. Today, without any security, banks are willing to lend money. Only thing is that they higher. But believe me, if you are able to complete, then your earning possibility will make you to finance the loan which you have taken. So these are the means by which anybody can take access.
Thank you, sir. And mm, another question, sir. So countries like German, they onboard the students who know German. So do you think that the language abroad, sir?
See, there are a lot of countries which have their native language. Germany is one example. But for those who want to go to Germany, or for those who want to go to any country, predominantly where English is, where they have a native language, they enroll only into a program which is totally taught in English. Nobody who goes to German enrolls into a program which is being taught in German. It is taught only in English. So the aspect of foreign language is not a necessity for studying in any country. Germany is a very attractive destination because education is free there. So a lot of students take a go. But remember, there is also a lot of competition basically. So the brilliant students are only able to get an admit. But even for them, they only enroll into a program which is totally being taught in English. So learning a foreign language for the purpose of education is not a necessity. But obviously, in today's global world, learning multiple languages can always be, if you have the acumen for learning foreign language, and if you can learn, definitely you can do that. But as far as education is concerned, it is not at all a requirement. It is not necessary at all.
Yes. And so what should be the IELTS score the student should have
Okay.
for getting admission?
Okay, good. Thank you, sir. I totally missed that aspect of it. See, for all those who aspire to study abroad, there is only one thing which you got to prove. You got to prove that you know English, because India is a country with 1.3 billion, and we are not accepted as native English speakers, even though our English is much better than a lot of other people, basically. So we are forced to prove that we know English. And one simple test, don't confuse yourself with a lot of tests. There are a lot of tests like IELTS, TOEFL, PTE, Duolingo, so many. IELTS is International English Language Testing System. TOEFL is Test of English as Foreign Language. PTE is PSL Test of English. All these are there. But forget about all these things. The most globally accepted and probably the most credible in the English language test is IELTS, International English Language Test. It is a test which is conducted by University of Cambridge and British Council jointly and IDP Australia. Now this test tests the listening, reading, writing and speaking capability of individuals. It is a test out of a band of nine, and in each section and overall graduate, postgraduate students who aspire to study abroad are normally required to get a score of 6.5 overall and a minimum of 6 in each of these bands. Now, at this point of time, I need to tell the impact of COVID-19. Because of COVID-19, these tests are to take these tests. So, a lot of institutions have come forward in waiving these IELTS based on the 10th and 12th English course, or based on the medium of instruction certificate which you can get from your institution. Or IELTS has also moved to IELTS online, and this Duolingo test is also an online. So some of the institutions have all tests. To answer the question straight, IELTS score of 6.5 overall with a minimum of 6 is a requirement for anybody who wants to study a post-graduation course. Any weekend this test could have been taken. Post-lockdown, any weekend you could take this test. That is the frequency at which this test is there. Right now, online tests are available and you can take.
So there is a question from YouTube. One Mr. Kaushik posted this question. And what should be their salary after completion of their post-graduation program from abroad? Say for instances, if a graduate or completing BBA here in India, when they go for pursuing MBA in abroad, when they come back to India, what should be their salaries?
Okay, now this is very wide open basically because it depends on the country. But generally, if a person does a BBA in India and if he goes to a country like UK and spends 10 15 lakhs and does an MBA, and then the minimum, I mean, I'm just calculating the minimum wage. The minimum wage, based on the minimum wage, a per annum pay which you would get would be around 25 lakhs. So it can be more, it can be even 50 lakhs, 60 lakhs, so it depends. But the minimum wage would be 20, 25 lakhs, at least he should, 20, 25 lakhs, at least he should be able to earn and per annum. The same student, if he in 2 years, your investment of 10 to 20 lakhs can be taken in 1 year, and there is another year for you to work. So that's why education abroad today is attractive. Coming back to India, it basically depends on the individual because there is a global standard where there is a minimum wage. But in India, I, I think if you are able to get a package of 2 to 3 lakhs today, then coming back, you should be able to access a package of 5 6 lakhs, basically double of what you are likely to get right away. So that's the kind of scale which I can generally just say, but it all depends on where you go, what you study, and which university you study, which country you study, and what kind of profile are you, and things like that. Because even here we see that there are students who are very varied in even in a class of 50, 50 students are 50 different kinds. So I cannot generalize. To the extent to which I can generalize, I have answered you.
Sir, another student on Mr. Nirmal Raj, he posted a question on YouTube. Should we need to gain experience to pursue higher studies in German?
Okay. See, Germany predominantly attracts students from science and technology background, meaning the mechanical engineers, biomedical engineers, biotechnology, and energy engineering, and things like that. But certain than that, we also have management students who are studying, technology students who are studying, which is very marginal. For the reason that there are very few institutions which are teaching courses in English which are so good compared to the other English speaking countries which can offer management. And most of these institutions which offers courses other than science and technology, the tuition fee. So paying so much and studying in Germany basically is the aspect of considering German education. Coming back to the, I think, sir, can you repeat the question, sir? I lost.
Yes, sir. Whether the students who
Yeah.
complete their BBA here in India, and when they go for taking a MBA program in abroad, do they need experience?
Yeah, got that. Sir. Yeah. So in India, for an, as I said, we don't need work experience for doing an MBA. But globally, since I elaborated on so many specific masters, an MBA is an globally, since I elaborated on so many specific masters, an MBA is an exception. An MBA is only for a person with years of experience. An MBA is 26 to 27. So for the specific course of an MBA, if you want to do, I mean, at least for good institutions, 3 years of work experience is necessary. For some institutions, 6, 7 years of experience is necessary. But that is the reason why they offer focused masters. So those of you who want to do an MBA in India, probably you can go abroad and straight away without any experience, you can do a master's in management, master's in international business, master's in business management. For all these courses, there is no work experience which is required. You can put the other question also. Is it better to gain some experience and then study, or is it better to go abroad and study right away? For that, I have one simple reason basically. I think studying at one stretch has been the habit of Indians, and studying after some years, see, imagine 3 years of, and then you leave the job, then there is an opportunity cost of what you're earning. And then you got to invest also. You got to invest time, money, and energy. Investing all these things and then getting back to school is a big decision which you got to take. In my experience, I have seen that a lot of people are not able to take this decision. So, gaining work experience and then studying is not a very big advantage. Again, after you complete the course, the test score, as I said, IELTS is required for those who want to do some management course, can take up CMAT also, not going to be required. But so next is the test course, and the next most important thing is the story which I said. It's called letter of intent or letter of motivation or statement of purpose or whatever. This letter is very, very important. A lot of people don't even understand the importance of it. As I said, I have done a wonderful YouTube presentation on this, which I have elaborated. But just to keep it short, this story is who are you? What have you done till now? And what do you want to do right now? And why do you want to pursue this particular course? Why in this particular country? And on completion of it, where do you see yourself? What do you want to do? And how do you see yourself impacting the society? Now, this is the story is very important. The institution looks at it. Beyond that, they look at the CV, which has a collection of your co-curricular activities and your extracurricular activities and all those things. Um, now, I mean, now these are the things which any institution looks at to decide whether you are eligible to study with that. So these are the things, if you want to go abroad and study, these are the things which you got to build.
So one Mr. Nirmal Raj posted another question. Could you please elaborate a course which is offered in other country management, MIM?
Okay. See, I mean, the as specialization in India, we have an MBA and then we specialize in every walk inside an MBA. Now, otherwise, a master's in management is a general specialization, a lot of attributes which is common in the business environment. A master's in management course is a concise of organization, and it's a concise of financial management, it's a concise of operation management, human resource management, it is a concise of resource management. So all these put together as a collection is what is masters in management. I would probably relate a master's in management or a master's in international business to a more similar MBA, general MBA, which is offered in India.
Sir, another question from YouTube. To the people who are preparing for entrance exam to study abroad.
What is the suggestion?
What is your to the people, those who are preparing for an entrance examination to study abroad?
See, as I said today, because of COVID-19, the learning medium, even for these entrances, have all changed to online. Ideally, students have a lot of time. Even at Career Zone, we have this online, training for this TOEFL, IELTS. You can probably take advantage of that. For those who want to study MBA, the only test which is required is only IELTS. So that's the only entrance exam which you can take it up and take it up online, and the test also can be taken online. So you can do that at the moment.
Sir, what should be the score the students should achieve to get into top universities in abroad? IELTS score normally, what you said, 6 to 6.5 something. Is it applicable to universities in abroad?
Across the world, 6.5 overall with 6 should be good enough. There are very few institutions which might require 7 overall, and they might require 6. In writing, I need 6.5, and then overall I need 7. This might be that. For students who are, specifically like healthcare workers, nursing, physiotherapists, and all those students, definitely they have a higher requirement and of 7 in each and every batch. But generally, for the business graduates, it's in economics and sociology graduates, 6.5 with 6 should be good enough for any institution across the world. Very few institutions might ask 7, so that's the max. I don't think anybody asks more than that.
Sir, that's all from the YouTube. Shall we wind up with the vote of thanks session, sir?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, all. On behalf of respected Secretary Dr. T. Kannaya, esteemed Principal Dr. D. Brinda, beloved Vice Principal Dr. A. Anguraj, PAG College of Arts and Science, I take immense pleasure to propose a vote of thanks. First, a bouquet of thanks to our chief guest of today, Mr. Prasanna Krishna, CEO and Formatur. And thank you so much for your valuable guidance and bundled of informations about where to study and from where to get funding and how to apply. And these are the very fruitful information is needed for today, because we used to talk about this thing in the classes, studying in abroad, and is it worthy to go abroad to pursue their PG in abroad. And finally, you gave a very good explanation on this, and I think it should be a very informative session for our students, and they can take it forward if they want to study in abroad. And at the end of the day, I think the learner should be able to understand the IELTS score they need to get to be eligible to go abroad and to pursue higher studies in abroad. And so you gave a right explanation whether the COVID has have an impact on higher studies in abroad. Thank you so much, sir. And heartful thanks to management, Secretary Principal, Vice Principal for their constant encouragement to execute this program. And gratitude to all the faculty members and crew members belongs to ISO and placement made this event grand success. Last but not least, thanks to students community for your participation